Good morning, it's Mark from Top Local Lead Generation. We're here with Mr. Bernie Pawlik, the owner of Vancouver's Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver BC, and they've just won for the 14th time Best Auto Repair and Auto Service Place in Vancouver. Pretty amazing. How you doing this morning, Bernie?
Good. Very honored to have won again. It's awesome.
So we're going to talk about the Ford 6-liter diesel, which has a bit of a reputation, maybe a negative one in a lot of the coverage. What are your thoughts about this vehicle?
Well, definitely there's a lot of negative comments, and they're probably well deserved. The problems with the Ford 6-liter are legendary. If you own one of these vehicles, or if you've just bought one, you can expect there's probably going to be a lot of repair bills coming down the line. If you've owned one for a while, you've probably already experienced a few large repair bills.
So
So,
what sorts of things go wrong with these engines?
well, there's a lot. And it's maybe easiest to start with what doesn't go wrong with them. I mean, the bottom ends of these engines are really solid. The pistons, connecting rods, crankshafts, engine block, timing chains, those are all really solid parts. You can count on those for a long, long time. But what does go wrong, head gaskets blow, EGR coolers fail, engine oil coolers plug up, fuel injectors have problems. There's a number of electrical sensors and things that will go bad. There's just a lot of things. But there's also some solid things we can do to keep to fix this engine, keep it reliable, keep it trouble-free for a long time.
So is that what the term bulletproofing refers to?
It does. And excuse me for a second here. Yeah, so there are many ways to do repairs in these engines, and bulletproofing is a term that refers to the more permanent repair solutions. And it also refers to using parts from a company called Bulletproof Diesel. This company has they've looked at all the common faults and made some really excellent parts that really never fail. And if you look at this picture here, you can see that the bulletproof oil cooler, or sorry, the bulletproof EGR cooler. On the left side, that's the original Ford cooler, and on the right side, that's the bulletproof cooler. They've basically taken it apart, welded solid tubes in there. It just lasts. It lasts forever, and it costs really a couple of dollars more than a Ford cooler. Bulletproof. They've also gone so far as to create a remote engine oil cooler, which it takes the oil cooler from the valley of the engine, and you mount a cooler outside externally, so it uses air to cool the engine, and this eliminates a huge number of problems. Now, bulletproofing also refers to some other items, such as installing cylinder head studs. And the thing with heads, like originally the heads are held down with bolts, but studs provide a much superior clamping force on the heads, virtually eliminating head gasket failures in the future. One common cause of head gasket failures is the turbochargers will overboost, and you'll never really know it, but what happens is this actually causes the heads to lift, although it's on a kind of microscopic level, but that's enough to blow the gasket. So with studs installed, that will definitely not happen. You may wonder, why does this engine have so many problems? And I think it's really down to design. I mean, Ford had a really good engine with the 7.3-liter Power Stroke. But they over time that engine just wouldn't meet modern emission standards. So they designed the Navistar, which built the engines for Ford, designed the 6-liter engine, and they probably rushed it into production because there's a lot of problems with it. One thing about the engine, it's unique in that it uses a high-pressure oil system to boost the fuel injection pressure. So they used electronic injection with high pressure oil that got a lot more extra power out of the engine, but it's created a whole number of problems. And unfortunately, the customers have paid dearly for that bad design. But on a positive note, it created a gold mine for the repair industry, which again is not good for the customer. Problems with these engines, I think were realized early on, and Ford made a lot of modifications to the engines over the years that they built them, but none of them made the engine super reliable without doing some of these bulletproofing repairs. So, people ask, if you had a 6-liter, how would I repair it to make it reliable? What would you go about doing? And I'd start the conversation with how do you want to take care of this truck? Like, what do you want to do with the truck? What are you using it for? Are you going to be hauling heavy loads? Are you going to be are you just going to be driving it around town? And if the vehicle's working fine, there's not really any reason to do a lot with it. I get phone calls from people almost every week. They've looked on the internet, they bought one of these trucks, or they've looked at our videos and blogs. They go, "Oh my God, what do I do?" And I say, "Relax, don't worry about it. Just see how it's actually working first." So there's a few ways to repair it. On the cheaper end, you can just if you are actually experiencing coolant leaks and the head gaskets are blown, you can just replace it with the original bolted head. That's the cheaper end job. Put all original parts in, and it'll work fine, but it will fail again at some point. Or you can do the bulletproofing job. Costs a bit more money, but you're kind of ensured that you're not going to get in there again and do any of those repairs, probably ever. Or if you're really going for the heavy duty truck, put the bulletproof oil cooler in. I mean, it's definitely a lot more expensive, but it again eliminates a lot of issues from happening. There's a few other problems that happen on these trucks too. The injectors fail. Those will go with or without head gasket problems. The other thing, a FICM, which is a fuel injection control module, it's a common failure item as well. That's an externally bolted on item, so it's not really a huge amount of work to do. So cab off repairs. This is something that we often do to repair these engines, and people say, should I be, why do you go through such great lengths to remove the cab?
Bernie?
Yes, Mark.
There we go. We got the cab. We were looking at a picture with an arrow. What was that of?
Oh yes, thank you. Sorry, I got distracted. That picture with the arrow, by the way, was that was one of the common failure items on one of these engines, called an STC fitting. And what that is it's basically high pressure oil fitting. Those items fail, so when we do the bulletproofing work, we replace that piece. If that fitting fails, the original one, it'll actually break the back of the engine block. So it's kind of one of those beautiful design ideas that can cost a fortune to fix, but it's something we fix in the bulletproofing process. So sorry I didn't explain that. I assume we're looking at the cab off right now?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so with the cab off, you can see with this cab lifted, and it looks like a lot of work, and it does take a little while to get it off. We can get right into the engine and do the work, and it's absolutely an amazing way to go. If we're doing a full job like head gaskets and top end work, the top end oil coolers and that kind of thing, to lean over the cab it's a back-breaking job, and it can certainly be done, but the amount of time it takes once you lift the cab off, it makes the work in the engine compartment really simple, and really, as a technician, a pleasure to work on. So this is why we do it. It's either way, it's a very big job. So that kind of explains the cab off.
So that's a heck of a lot to bite off. I mean, that's a lot of pieces to unhook and then rehook up, because you're basically taking, you're at an assembly stage, like right in the factory kind of thing. So is that something, like, do I even dare ask if you'd recommend one of these trucks to somebody?
Well, you know what? They are nice trucks. It wouldn't be my first choice personally. I mean, working on a lot of diesels, we see Cummins with very few problems. We see Chevy Duramaxes. We hardly actually ever work on Duramaxes because they have so few problems. But the Ford trucks are nice, especially like the F350 Harley-Davidson edition. It's a beautiful truck. And the engines can be made to be pretty reliable. It's just if you buy one, you will spend more money fixing it. There's no doubt. If you're really hell bent on a Ford, just make sure you get one for a cheap price and do your research, see what's been done. I mean, you may well. There's a lot of these trucks that have been fixed up, so you'll probably a lot of used ones will have the head studs already done and the bulletproofing work done. You just need to check that out. And if it hasn't been, well, at some point it might fail. I mean, the last thought I'll leave you with is, we do work on a number of these trucks where people have not actually had to do head gaskets or had much other than maybe an EGR cooler or a couple of injectors. So they can last a long time without problems, but you just never know. It's a bit of a gamble. So that's all I've got to say about that's all I got to say about 6 liters today. But
there's lots to say.
then there's a lot to say, and then there's the 6.4, which is enough for another hangout.
Great. So we've been talking with the owner of Pawlik Automotive in Vancouver, Mr. Bernie Pawlik. He's a master mechanic, been doing this for an awfully long time, expert in many, many types of vehicles, including diesels. They've had inquiries from around the world about doing diesel repairs, in fact, because of the excellent work that they do. And you can reach them at pawlikautomotive.com, or you can give them a call. Book your next maintenance and service or repair at 604-327-7112. Thanks, Bernie.
Thanks, Mark. Talk soon.